Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Bibbidi Bobbidi Books. My name is Ellie and today I'm going to be doing the Winter is Coming book tag. Can you believe it's nearly December? That actually blows my mind. It's kind of terrifying how quickly this year has gone, and Christmas is around the corner and I'm just not ready. But I am excited about all things cozy and all things wintry because I do like to snuggle up with a good book during the winter, and I thought it'd be fun to do a little bit of a tag video today and to do one that's on the wintry sort of theme. So I really hope that you enjoy this tag video. If I can find the original creator and the original video for this tag, I will link them down below so you can head on over and check them out. Please feel free to play along with me. If you want to drop your answers down below in the comments, I'd love to hear what your answers would be and to have a little chat with you down in the comments section. But without further ado, I'm going to hop straight in with the first question. Okay, so the first prompt is snow, and it says, it is beautiful when it first falls, but then it starts to melt. A book or book series that you loved at the beginning, but then in the middle realised that you don't like it any longer. So I found this quite a difficult one to think of a book for, but the one that sort of springs to mind from this year is Bone Orchard by Sarah Miller. So this is one that I actually ended up DNFing, and it's such a shame because I feel like this book has a really amazing concept and some really unique ideas. So if you haven't heard of this book before, it's a fantasy adult standalone, and it's quite dark and interesting because the main character is this woman called Charm, and she is the Emperor's concubine, and she runs this brothel called Orchard House, and the girls who work in this house are all named after different personality traits. So obviously our main character is called Charm, but we've also got characters like Pain and Shame, which is just slightly strange, and we quickly find out that there's something a little bit dark and a little bit strange that's going on, and it's all to do with kind of necromancy type magic, whereby girls are kind of created from bones that grow in this bone orchard. So they're kind of constructed, and then they are the girls that run this brothel, which is such a unique and interesting idea. And there's also a mystery at the heart of this book because basically the Emperor becomes fatally ill, and on his deathbed he calls for Charm to come and visit him, and he tells Charm that he thinks he was poisoned and he wants her to find out who the murderer was. So there's a kind of mystery element to this book as well, and there was lots that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the atmosphere, I liked some of the unique concepts, I really liked finding out about the different girls, but for some reason I just found the middle dragged a little bit and I was struggling to follow along with the plot. I do think this is going to be one of those books where if I pick it up at the right time I'm going to really enjoy it, but it just wasn't the right time for me when I read this one, and it was starting to put me in a little bit of a slump. So for that reason I had to put it down, but I do definitely want to revisit it at some point in the future, and hopefully I'll have a better experience the second time round. Okay, so the next prompt is Snowflake, something beautiful and always different. Choose a book that stands out, that is different from all the other books that you've read. So for this one, the book that jumped out straight away is Censor by Junji Ito. So this is actually a manga, and it's the first manga that I've ever read, so it's definitely very different from what I normally read, and it was also the weirdest thing that I've ever read. So Junji Ito is kind of known for his very out there horror manga, and that definitely showed in this book. I did enjoy it, but I wasn't super blown away by the plot for this one, but I have heard that some of his other works are a little bit better, so I'm definitely excited to try more of Junji Ito's work. And yeah, it was a really unique reading experience for me. I love the artwork in here. So this is a sort of cosmic horror story, and it's set in this Japanese village that is covered in this volcanic hair. So it's like thin strands of like glass type stuff, I think, that comes down from the volcano, and it just coats this village in these golden strands, which is so strange. And we follow our main character, who is this mysterious woman who is the sole survivor of a volcano eruption, and she basically draws the attention of a cult and also a reporter. And I feel like that's all I want to say because I don't want to give anything away, but it gets very twisted and dark very quickly. And yeah, it was bizarre, but I think I enjoyed it. Okay, so the next prompt is Snowman, and it says, it is always fun to make one with your family. Choose a book a whole family could read. So for this one, I have chosen Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is one of my favourite middle grade series. It is so fun, and it's definitely one of those middle grade stories that I think would appeal to both adults and children, and it's definitely one that I think would be fun to read together as a family. So yeah, I'm super excited to get to the sequel for this one, which has recently come out. I'm hoping to pick it up in December and I cannot wait. But yeah, this is such a fun story. If you haven't heard of it before, we're following a young girl called Amari, and she is trying to find out what happened to her brother who went missing, and she stumbled across this briefcase in his bedroom, and inside the briefcase is an invitation for her eyes only, and it's an invitation for her to try out for a position in the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. And Amari basically finds out that her brother was a member of the secret bureau, and she kind of follows in his footsteps really, and she decides to try out for a position herself, and it's just so great. Basically, she finds out that all manner of magical creatures and magical beasts and things do actually exist, but they've been kept hidden away from humanity's eyes, and it's basically the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs' job to keep these creatures hidden and to protect humanity. And it's just so imaginative and fun. It's been likened to Men in Black, and I can definitely see the comparison there, and it also just has a really lovely whimsical writing style, and honestly I think it would be wonderful for you regardless of your age. So yeah, if you think it sounds fun, definitely give it a go. Okay, sorry if the camera angle has changed slightly. My camera battery just ran out, so I had to go and quickly change it. So apologies if it's changed a little bit, but I think we were up to the prompt Santa Claus, and it says, he brings wonderful presents. Choose a book you'd like to get for Christmas. So my Christmas wish list is ever growing. There are so many books that I would love to get my hands on this Christmas. Honestly, we'd be here forever if I was going to chat you through all of the books that I'd love to get. But one book that I'm particularly intrigued by is a fantasy book, and it's called Dream of the Dying by Nicholas Litzau. And I just think this looks so interesting. I'm really craving chunky adult fantasy at the moment, and I think next year is going to be my fantasy year. I'm just really looking forward to sinking my teeth into some proper hefty adult fantasy next year. And when I was like researching books and stuff, I came across this one, and I feel like I haven't heard anyone on BookTube talking about this book. So yeah, I just thought the premise sounded really interesting. I love the fact that there is a focus in this book on mental health, and it sounds like it's really unique and like just a really interesting story. I'm just going to read you the synopsis because I feel like that's going to be better than me trying to explain what it's about, because obviously I haven't read the book yet. But it says, if your mind is the enemy, where do you run? Years after a harrowing war experience, ex-mercenary Jesper has taken to drifting. It's a lonely existence, but barring the occasional bout of melancholia, he has found the closest thing a man like him deserves. Life is all right. Or so he believes. Hoping to turn the page, Jesper accepts a mysterious invitation into the beautiful but dangerous islands of Calais, and everything changes. Plagued by explosive social tensions and terrorism, the tropical empire is edging ever closer to civil war. Calais' merchant king is the only person able to prevent this catastrophe, but he has fallen into a preternatural coma, and it's Jesper's task to figure out what or who has caused it. As the invitation takes him across the islands and into the king's nightmares, unexpected events not only tie Jesper's own life to the mystery, but also unearth inner demons he believed to be long exorcised. Battling old trauma while fighting for his life, his sanity, and the fate of Calais, the line between dream and reality blurs until only one question remains. If your mind is the enemy, where do you run? How interesting does that sound? That sounds so fascinating. I love the fact that we've got a character who is battling inner demons. There's obviously going to be a focus on trauma and depression, and I love the fact that we've got this king who's in a coma, and it seems like, I don't know, there's this blurred line between dream and reality. It just sounds so interesting. So yeah, I'm very intrigued by that one and would be very excited if I got that on Christmas Day. Okay, so the next prompt is snowballing. It can be painful to be hit by a snowball. Choose a book that hurt, that made you feel some strong emotion like sadness or anger. So for this one, I am going to choose a novella called The Deep, and it's written by River Solomon and colleagues. There's quite a few co-authors. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but I'll put a picture up on the screen for you. And this is such an interesting little story. It's basically a fantasy novel, and it uses the fantasy genre to explore generational trauma, and it's such an interesting concept because it basically follows this community of Mer people, and they have all descended from African slaves that have been tossed overboard. So basically African slaves who were pregnant were seen as a drain on resources, and so they were just tossed overboard to be drowned when they were being brought across the seas basically. And so obviously this community of Mer people that descended from these pregnant African women who were tossed overboard have this hugely traumatic and tragic history, and it's so traumatic that basically the entire community has decided to take part in this kind of group amnesia. So basically all of the people in this Mer community deliberately choose to forget their past, and it's the job of this one person called the historian to keep hold of all of these memories and to keep them safe. So basically everybody except the historian can carry on with their life and live in blissful ignorance of where they came from, but the historian has to hold on to all of these really painful memories, and then once a year the historian will share these memories with the community so that everyone can kind of remember and recall where they came from, and then they give the memories back to the historian because it's too painful to hold on to. So it's such an interesting idea, and there's lots to unpack with this little story. You can really kind of delve deep and to kind of analyze it, I suppose, how you like, but there's definitely a focus on trauma, obviously generational trauma, but also depression and pain and community and moving on from trauma, and it's just such a interesting book, and it really does pack a punch and definitely made me feel things. So I thought it would be perfect for this prompt. So yeah, let me know if you've read this one. I'd love to have a little chat with you in the comments. Okay, so the next prompt is sledding. We all loved it when we were younger. Choose a book you loved when you were a child. So I didn't do a huge ton of reading when I was younger. I'm actually dyslexic, so I struggled a little bit with reading when I was younger, but I do remember that I really enjoyed the Lemony Snicket series, the Series of Unfortunate Events series. I definitely enjoyed those stories, and I remember really liking the character of Violet. So if you haven't heard of this series before, it's a children's series, and it follows the Baudelaire orphans. So there are 3 orphans whose parents obviously died, and they basically get taken to their guardian, who is this evil Count Olaf. And each book has a little mystery in it, so it involves the children trying to find things out and kind of get away from this evil Count Olaf character, and it was just really entertaining. Each of the 3 children have kind of unique abilities. I know that Violet was an inventor, which I thought was really cool, so she's able to kind of create things. I think it's oh, what's his name? Something beginning with K. The boy, anyway, he's like super good at maths. And then we've got the little baby girl called Sunny, who has really sharp teeth, which is just quite a funny concept. So yeah, I remember really enjoying those books when they came out, so let me know if you read them as well. Right, next up is Frostbite. Choose a book that you were really disappointed in. So for this one, I am going to choose House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. So this is the second book in the Crescent City series, and I quite enjoyed the first book in this series. I was looking forward to the sequel and then was really disappointed. I'm sorry if you enjoyed this book, but I just really didn't get on with it at all. If you don't know this series, it basically follows this girl called Bryce Quinlan. She is a half fae, half human woman, and she lives in this city known as the Crescent City, and she suffers a big sort of trauma at the beginning of the first book, and she's brought into kind of like an investigation to find out what happened, and she is helped by this man called Hunt Athalar, and he is a fallen angel character, and he's also kind of like her bodyguard, and the two of them basically uncover some secrets in about the city, and they kind of explore the dark underbelly of the city, and they uncover some interesting things, and it gets pretty epic. So it's quite hard to talk about the kind of plot of this one because it goes places. So yeah, I really enjoyed the first book. I thought there was a lot of great romance in it. I liked our main character, I liked the world, and I just thought it was really quite interesting. So yeah, I was looking forward to this sequel, but unfortunately I didn't enjoy this sequel. I thought it was really slow paced, and I feel like we were kind of led along this path of a plot. There was this kind of mystery element, and we were kind of trying to find out what happens, and then there was no real resolution to it, and the resolution happened off page, and I just wasn't a huge fan. And also, if you've read this book, you'll know that there is a big thing that happens at the end, and I'm just not particularly pleased with how it ended, and I'm quite worried about where the series is going to go because of the ending. Obviously I can't really say too much because of spoilers, so this isn't going to mean anything to you if you haven't read the book, but yeah, sadly I was a little bit disappointed by that one. Will I be carrying on the series? Yes, because I'm intrigued to see how the events are going to play out following this book, but I'm going to have very low sort of expectations, I think, for the next one. Okay, and now we're on to the final question, which is reindeer, something that is dear to us. It says, choose a book that is of great sentimental value to you. So I struggled with this one. I don't really have anything that I hold a huge amount of sentimental value to. I like all of the books that I have. But I was sort of having a little look on my shelves just now, and I did find my original copy of Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. So obviously this is a classic children's fantasy series, and I, along with most people of my generation, was really obsessed with this when I grew up, and it is quite cute to have this original copy that I had. It's very faded, and the pages are now yellowing, and yeah, it's not looking in the best condition, but it has been very loved. So yeah, it's quite nice to have this little book in my collection. So that's what I'm going to choose for that prompt. And that brings me to the end of this video. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing my answers to these prompts. I'm very excited to see your answers if you want to play along with me, and if you've dropped them down in the comments. I hope you're having a fabulous day, whatever it is that you are doing, and yeah, I guess I'll see you next time with another video. Bye!